You know, the bigger picture here, there's a lot of governors, at least 50 last time I checked. There's many Republican governors. You are the focus. So I suspect if you were an ineffective governor, you wouldn't threaten the left-wing media, the Democrat Party media in this country. You have some really terrible media here. This is me speaking. Palm Beach is just a disaster. Orlando, Tampa, disaster, like most of the rest of the country. If you were a mediocre Democrat governor, or if you had been a Cuomo, a disastrous governor, you wouldn't be getting this kind of attention, would you?
Now, look, I mean, when you're over the target, they're going to come at you. But what I view it as positive feedback. If the corporate press nationally isn't attacking me, then I'm probably not doing my job. So the fact that they are attacking me is a good indication that, you know what, I'm tackling the big issues. We're going after critical race theory. We're fighting back against Biden's mandates. We're fighting back against the illegal immigration. All those things that a vast majority of Floridians and Americans want to see done, but that does threaten the ruling class and the regime. And so when you stand up in this day and age that we're in, when you're speaking the truth, those folks do not want that to get out. And so they are going to throw arrows at you. But I think that what we've been able to show is if you stand your ground, if you lead, if you don't back down and just stand for the right things, there's a groundswell of folks who will have your back. And that ultimately is what it's all about.
Did you ever think an issue like a pandemic or vaccines or this monoclonal antibody, did you ever think that that would be politicized the way that Washington has politicized it and Biden and so forth? I mean, you've had to fight like hell to get the citizens of this state the monoclonal antibodies that you have focused on very heavily, this therapeutic. And as a side point, as a footnote, I was in Florida. My family was in Florida. I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I got the booster. Then I got the virus. And we looked up on the internet, and there was a center 20 miles away where we could go to get the monoclonal antibody, which you really are supposed to get within 48 hours if you can. And after the first day where I felt lousy, I felt fine. I mean, it actually works, and you have them all over the state. You're really the only governor who's done this, and yet you're the focus of Washington, the bureaucrats and the Democrat politicians who are saying, that works, let's withhold the monoclonal antibodies. What do you make of that?
Well, it's all political. And we set up these centers this summer when we started to see Delta variant rear its head, and it worked. We were keeping tens of thousands of people out of the hospital, saved thousands of lives. No one disputes that. Well, as that was happening in September, the federal government decided to seize control of the monoclonal antibodies and cut supplies to Florida and Texas mainly. Now, I was able to do a deal with another company, GlaxoSmithKline. We got some Sotrovimab, which is also good, to paper over some of that. And then our numbers were so low that there just wasn't a lot of demand for it for many months. Well, now that you see Omicron, you start to see more prevalence in the winter, which we anticipated there would be an increase in demand. We're not getting what we need. And so we're working through that. We think we have a potential to have a positive solution on that. But, you know, what HHS will say is, oh, Florida, you use too much of it. Well, part of the reason we use more than other states is because we've actually embraced treatment. Most of these other governors and the people like Fauci and the federal leadership, they basically say, get a shot, wear a mask, and that they never talk about treatment. And we've really embraced treatment because that's just the reality of what we're facing. You were vaccinated, and yet you still got it. I wish the vaccines were sterilizing, but they're not providing that type of an immunity. So to just not deal with treatment and be hostile to people like me who are, it shows so much of this is about a political agenda, it's about partisanship, and it's not about the best interests of the American people when you talk about how these folks are acting.